Welcome back to Own the World Plays Out of the Park Baseball 21. It is time for our 15-year review after the 1885 season. And so here you can kind of see just the overall history of the league, who's been the winner. So our Chicago team, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 titles in 15 years where we have won the World Series. We have also been the World Series loser in 4 of those years. And then there have been 4 other times that we have not made the playoffs. The Philadelphia Athletics were the early dynasty in the American League there. Quick Boston run, Cleveland for a few years, and then Philadelphia. So, let's see. Players. So recently retired after this past season, so we won't cover this in the 1885 off season. These are all the players who have retired this past year. Significant ones, Art Allison. He was somebody we talked about trading for a few times, spent most of his career in Philadelphia. Was a pretty good player overall. He'll be an interesting test case. Just got over the 1,000 hit threshold. Looks like really 10 solid years of playing time, but some of those were ugly towards the end. So he'll be an interesting case when we get there. Let's see. We'll use 1,000 hits as our guide for people worth taking a look at. Count Sensendorfer. So he had a brief spin through Chicago before he got shifted off again. So a little over 1,300 hits. Only 6.2 WAR for his career 279 hitter. An OPS of 98 for his career, so probably not going to get there, but he will get, I'm sure, some votes when it comes to be that time. Let's see, anybody else hit that 1,000 hit threshold? And Candy Nelson, one of the first draft picks in the league. So worth about 20 WAR over his career. He got 1,000 hits. Looks like he played most of his career in Cleveland. A 4-time All-Star. Only retired at 36, but really hadn't gotten any playing time the last 2 years. And then pitchers, really the only one of significance here is Martin Malone, who threw over 1,000 innings. Nobody else topped 100 that retired this year. So he led the league in saves a few times, although that's not really an important stat. He also led the league in home runs given up 1 year. 3.5 WAR for his career. 15 saves, probably not going to get it, even though he played 11, 12 years in the league. Fred Triace, he was a long-time player in Chicago. He came over after the 79 season and basically was a defensive replacement for us throughout his mid to late 30s. Gave us good value there, but not going to get into anybody's Hall of Fame. Just a good player. He's got 1 Gold Glove in 71, an All-Star appearance in 73, a Platinum Stick in 73, so 73 was his best year. He had 360 that year. And then he won the World Series twice once he came over to Chicago. Let's see, records. So for the season, that belongs to Ross Barnes, as well as career batting average belongs to Ross Barnes. Let's just go look at career hits. That will be Ross Barnes. So we'll jump in here. This is far and away his number, 2158. And so right now he is 35. I mean, I doubt he gets to 3,000, but 2,500 is definitely within the realm. Although he didn't play as much this past year, only 77 games started. And so he might be on the decline, although his defense surely doesn't look it. He still is an elite second baseman and an elite hitter. So let's see if we can pull up his page here. because it should look pretty bonkers. Yeah, it's not going to show you in like that. So, and then second is Cap Anson. He's at 1,930. He's 33, so he'll definitely, in all likelihood, he'll pass 2,000 this year, becoming number 2 at that. And he's got a shot at 2,500, which should be a pretty big deal for him, coming off leading home runs for the last 5 years, as well as leading in walks, 5 of the last 7. So he's got a batting title, he's got the RBI title, he's got a home run title, he's just never put them all together in the same year. He even got a couple of stolen base titles. And then behind him are some of our other players. Lip Pike, he's 40. So I don't foresee him getting to the record, chasing it down, but he's still coming off a great year, worth 3 WAR. Led the league in doubles, 140 hits, started 102 games, and left. So, he's at 1883, so it's not unrealistic he gets to 2,000, but that's going to be the ceiling. Dick Hyam, 34 years old. He just keeps on hitting. He's, 2.5 WAR a year as a catcher. And the catcher ability is going downhill. So that might be a concern, but he'll get his 2,000. He's at 1877. He might even get it this next year. Levi Merrill, 36. The defense is starting to fail him. Yeah, it's failing him. He really hasn't played in the field in the last 3 years, so he might be done. He can still hit, but I don't think he's going to collect too many more of them. Jim O'Rourke, 1,759, still playing a solid first base. He had 294. He's been flirting around 300 for his career. So, again, he should climb to 3,000. Let's take the next couple of guys here. Paul Hines. He's just 30. The average did go down on him. Look at those triples, 21. He's an extra base machine. And he's got an MVP to his name. A very good player. Davey Force, 1,697. Still an elite shortstop, although it looks like the bat is starting to fail him. He hit 211 2 years ago, and this past year he hit 273. A nice recovery there. Still allows a lot of value on the defensive end, so he'll get a few more hits. Ezra Sutton, again, good player, 35, getting up there in age. This list is starting to be filled with these old guys. The most hits of anybody who's retired goes to Andy Leonard, number 19 at 1,329. So I think that's probably a fascinating number. Let's just hop in and look at the season board here for batting averages, because this could be the Ross Barnes board. Ross Barnes. Oh, there's a Dick Hyatt who at 409. Ross Barnes. Jimmy Wood, Hyam, Ross Barnes, Cap Anson, brothers. It's a lot of the same guys who fill that one. Let's check out home runs for a season. I think that's a fun one. So Anson with his 20 in 1884. 1884 was the year. And the offenses were bonkers. Anson, Fennelly brothers, Fred Mann. We haven't checked out who that is. He plays for the Kansas City Cowboys. Apparently that was Providence. He had 11 and then 10 and did not lead in either year. Harry Stovey in 1884. Plays for Detroit. You have a Roger Connor sighting, more Cap Anson, Rourke brothers, Anson. For the career, Anson does lead with 85. He set that way out in front. Looks like Ned Williamson, though. He started 7 years later, has 52. Yeah, he's just picking away. So he might chase that down, but he doesn't hit the ball very often. Because the last 5 years, 217, 225, 208, 186, 149 in 423 at bats. That is quite ugly. Let's check out the doubles in a season. I think this is kind of indicative of things as well. It's the Lit Pike board. Again, 81, 82, 83, 45, 46, 47. Jimmy Wood. There's some Fred Dunlap. Emil Gross. We haven't talked too much about him. He's a great catcher that comes along a few years into this. And you can definitely see it there. Flirting between 4 and 5 wins a year as a hitter. Great gap power. Not a home run hitter. Good defensive catcher. So you got to like guys like that. Career for doubles. That is Lit Pike. He's got 431. Anson a distant second at 361. So, and a lot of those same names: O'Rourke, Barnes, Cal McVeigh. We can poke in on him here. He's 35. Still able to play catcher, although he has not. Last 3 years, they have not been playing him anywhere near as much. So, he might be reaching the end as well. Stolen bases in a season. This will be a fun one. Because, I mean, we have Tom Poorman, who's just gone bonkers the last couple of years for us. And because it's showing his pitching stats, which makes even less sense. He pitched 2/3 of an inning, but he's led the league in stolen bases the last 2 years. He had 89, got caught 38 times. So really kind of about a break even on it. But in this era, it's probably worthwhile just because stolen base can lead to an error, which can lead to extra bases and runs and stuff like that. So he'll be an interesting person to watch over the next few years. Ross Barnes, Mike McGarry had 79 and 78. That's going to make a lot of sense. He stole 79 bases in 1878. Still playing decently. Led the league in stolen bases a few times. Denny Mack, Ross Barnes, Hines, Dave Egler, who's now retired, led the league in stolen bases twice. Good, center fielder there for a few years. Dan Brothers, insane 1884 is in here. Or he stole 64 and then followed it up with 63 the second year in Chicago. So let's hashtag free brothers. Getting him out of Pittsburgh turned him into a complete monster. A stolen base threat. He's led in doubles and home runs and hits and batting average and, all of that stuff. And then for a career, we don't need to look at Ross Barnes again. It is Ross Barnes at 621, and he can keep putting that away. Paul Hines. Actually, Paul Hines is pretty close, 569, and he's only 30. So he may track him down, because he's been putting up, that's what, about 50-ish a year for several years. So good for him. Mike McGarry behind him. Anson at 445. That's pretty good. He'll probably retire number 4 overall, depending on the order these guys retire in. But let's see. Any of those other ones really worth taking a look at? I think we'll skip a lot of that. Okay. So career, some of these are going to be really wonky, like wins is 43 in a season. Dick McBride. There's the Bobby Matthews season. Sal Pratt had a 35. Like, some of those aren't going to make any sense in later years. For a career, again, Bobby Matthews, 404, and still active at 33. Although, actually, he was probably, he wasn't really worth much. He was basically replacement level this past season. but he's been a good pitcher for a long time. He's gotten to 400 wins. Al Pratt just retired a year ago for us. He got 312. Had a very good career. Yeah, he'll be in the Hall of Fame. That's not even a question. Behind him, Jim Britt. He has crossed 300, and he's only 29. He's just been putting up, 20 a year, 20 plus a year for 13, 14 seasons. The next two guys are actually retired, Riney Walters and Candy Cummings. So Walters, who pitched a couple of years in Chicago, 5 years, led the league in wins in 2 of those. Also was a pretty good hitter for his career. Worth 10 wins at the bat, a career 311 hitter. I mean, you can't fault that. He even led the league in triples 1 year. There's some wonkiness. Candy Cummings, the 236, he's retired as well. He may have ended up on the wrong teams more than anything. So what is that? Brooklyn, Keokuk, Detroit. I mean, he had 1 good year where his WAR was, he led the league at 6.8. But then this guys like Cy Bentley, Bill Stearns, these guys are getting pretty long in the tooth here. Yeah, it's starting to get ugly for these guys. Cy Bentley's kind of probably done. Bill Stearns. Yeah, it's gotten pretty ugly for him the last couple of years. So, nobody's really chasing it outside of those guys. Al Spalding is still active. He might chase 200, but I don't know. If you're going 8-26 and then 1-1, probably not going to get too many more starts. Let's see. Strikeouts for a career, it's Jim Britt. He's got a huge lead there over Bobby Matthews. Bobby Mitchell's gotten in the chase. Larry Corcoran is only 900 in 6 seasons. An old hoss, 771 in 6. So some of these younger guys are better strikeout pitchers. For a season, it's going to be the Charlie Gagas Award. At this point, that 316 is just such an outlier. His stuff is ridiculous for this time. And he's just 23. Like he has a chance to put that in orbit. Let's see. Accomplishments. Let's check this out. Nobody has a 3-homer game yet. 6+ hits. This happened somewhat, well, not as regularly as it did early on. The last one was Jim Holdsworth in 1881, if you can believe that. It's been 4 seasons since there was one. There were 2 in 79, 1 in 78, 1 in 77, 1 in 75, and then the rest were 73 and 72, where there were just wonky games. 15+ strikeout games. Al Atkinson's the only one who's crossed that, and it took 12 innings. Cycles. Most recently, Lee Richmond, playing for Providence. He's a pitcher. How much did he bat? He played a lot more in the field. So let's look at his fielding stats. If that's the case, he played 99 games in right field. That is why. Not a great defensive right fielder either, but that is the most recent one. John Worrell and Buck Ewing are the last 2 to get it. Nobody had it since 1874. That's amazing. No hitters. We've had a rash of them the last couple of years. Actually, since the first time, the first 10 years, Dick McBride was the only one to do it. But since then, we've had Mickey Welch, Hugh Daly, Jim Whitney, Charlie Hodnett, Hank O'Day, Ed Morris, Jim Britt, and Bob Barr. So Mickey Welch, 8 strikeouts. Did he get perfect? Probably not. There's probably errors in these games. Ed Morris, I don't even know who that is. He plays for Boston. He's been pretty good. So those are those guys. No 50-plus home runs, 150 RBIs. No 20-win seasons. These are just kind of a joke at this point. Like this past season, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Basically, on average, one per team in the league hit a 20-win. Triple crowns. They've happened a lot more recently. They've all been pitching. Charlie Gigas is looking pretty dominant on that front of late. Al Atkinson has one as well. Tony Mullane. The milestones. So I'm seeing the 200 wins. 1,000 runs scored for Ross Barnes and Cap Anson. 1,000 RBI for Anson. Pike got 1,000 runs. Hines got 1,000 runs. Hyam got 1,000 runs. Davey Force, 1,000 runs scored. Ross Barnes hit the 2,000 mark, 1,000 runs. Jim Britt, 300. Bobby Matthews, 400. Hitting streaks. So I think the last time we'd seen, what was there? Let's check for 30s. There's a 35 game for Dickie Flowers in 75. There's a 40 for Cap Anson in 1877, a 42 for Levi Merrill in 77 as well. 48 for Ross Barnes in 1882. So that, I think, is going to go down as the record right now for hitting streak, Ross Barnes. Dan Brothers had one for Chicago. He had one the year before for Chicago, 23. Those guys do that. The Hall of Fame is still empty. The voting history. Jim Carlton, the only one who's had a vote in one of these strangest situations we could have come across. History, teams. So, let's see. The Baltimore Orioles have been awful. Sort by winning percentage. Let's go the other way. So, that didn't work. We've been best. The Athletics have been second. Boston, 2 playoffs, 1 championship. What is now the Washington Nationals. They've been through the Washington Olympics, the Washington Blue Legs, Syracuse Stars, Worcester Ruby Legs, Columbus Buckeyes, Buffalo Bisons. Oh, Lord. That's just a lot of words. And in that, they've won 1. St. Louis Maroons, they've been the Cleveland team. They've made the playoffs 4 times. They've never won. We finally have the Giants, the Brooklyn Grays, Cincinnati Red Stockings. The Philadelphia Quakers have made it twice. Right, when they were Troy. The Kansas City Cowboys, I guess that was, it's the Providence Grays. Players, that's going to be way too much. Teams, we went through that. Leagues, that doesn't really matter. Yeah, I think that's going to cover all we needed to in here. Again, if there's anybody you want me to take a look in and pop in at and check out their career, just let me know in the comments and we'll make sure that gets posted in a coming video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.